I have a bunch of lasers in my workshop. Handheld lasers for welding and cutting, and laser engravers. And why do I need all of them? Well, to cook the perfect steak, of course. This is the cheapest rump steak I could find at my local grocery store. It's already seasoned, so all I have to do is cook it to medium rare and see how it tastes. To make this experiment as scientific as possible, I'm going to cut the steak into equal pieces, each measuring 50 by 50 millimeters, or for you American viewers, about 2 toenails by 1 eggplant. And of course, I will be measuring everything with the most accurate equipment I have. Each piece of meat will be cooked using a different laser process, and I'll be timing every test with a stopwatch so we can find out which laser cooks a steak the fastest. Now, for a proper rare steak, the internal temperature needs to reach at least 50 degrees Celsius. So I'll insert a cooking thermometer right into the center of each piece and cook it until it reaches the target temperature. First up is my laser engraver. To make this work, I'm going to open the bottom of the machine and place a metal grill underneath it. Then I'll put the steak on top. Before I start engraving, cooking, I need to focus the laser head. Normally the laser would be focused directly on the surface for maximum power density, but in this case I'm going to focus it slightly above the steak. That makes the laser less efficient, but it also spreads the beam over a larger area, which should heat the meat more evenly instead of burning a tiny spot straight through it. At least that's the theory. The steak is in place, the thermometer is ready, the stopwatch is reset, and it's finally time to start cooking. Okay, first try. Start the clock. After 3 passes, it doesn't look like it's doing anything. The temperature in the middle is still the same. Right from the start, it didn't look like anything was happening. In fact, I had already started thinking about stopping the experiment when something unexpected happened. Oh, we got 1 degree more, 17 degrees instead of 16. Somehow the temperature inside the steak went up by 1 degree. 18 degrees. Let's go! And from that point on, every few minutes it gained another very important degree. 19 degrees. This was no longer a steak, it was progress. And we're 5 minutes into the cooking. "10 minutes into the first laser cooking experiment, I had to turn back the thermometer. And I also flipped the steak so the other side can also get some laser action. Now we're gonna flip the steak upside down. But after flipping it, not much changed. The temperature hovered around 26 degrees Celsius and refused to go any higher. I waited a little longer, hoping for a miracle, but the steak seemed completely unimpressed by my engineering skills. We barely reached 27 degrees and we are almost at 20-minute mark. Which means I'm gonna stop this experiment and just use whatever it is. At this point I decided enough was enough. The first steak was clearly not going anywhere. So the inside temperature is only 27.8 degrees Celsius, which means this steak isn't even cooked to rare. It's not safe to eat, but let's look at it. It is a little warm to the touch, but it sure does not look like I would be eating it. And the verdict for my first laser engraver, well... Unfortunately, this machine isn't really designed for cooking. To engrave an image, it has to move the entire laser head back and forth across the work area. That's great for engraving wood, plastic and metal, but it's painfully slow when you deliver heat to a steak. Technically, it was cooking, but at this rate, the cow might regenerate before dinner is ready. So let's move on to the next contender. This laser engraver works a little differently. Instead of moving the entire laser head, it uses a set of rapidly moving mirrors inside to steer the laser beam. That means it can scan across the surface much faster than the first machine. In theory, faster scanning should mean faster heating. I'm going to focus the laser the same way as before, slightly above the surface, and we'll see if the setup can finally cook a steak before I starve to death. Inside temperature is 16 degrees, and let's start. As you can see, the laser beam is moving a lot faster than before. Not much different. Okay, I'll try it a couple of times. Maybe it will get better because the inside temperature is actually rising. And it didn't take long to realize that this laser engraver actually had a chance of cooking the steak properly. 5 minutes into the test, the internal temperature had already reached 24 degrees Celsius. A few minutes later, it was up 33 degrees. We are almost at 10 minutes and we reached 33, almost 34 degrees inside temperature. For the first time in this experiment, things were looking promising. But the steak has two sides and I wanted to cook both of them. So I stopped the machine and flipped the meat over. There's not much crust on this steak, but we're gonna flip it. Okay, it is a little brown. We are almost 15 minutes in and we are at 37 degrees inside temperature. We are 20 minutes into the cooking of this steak with the laser engraver. The inside temperature is at 43 degrees Celsius. At first, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then the temperature started dropping. Not slowly, it was dropping faster than my confidence in this experiment. I'm not completely sure what happened, but I think I accidentally changed some settings while adjusting the machine. Whatever I did, it definitely wasn't helping. I'm engraving at a little lower speed, which I think might be the problem, so I'm gonna bump up the speed and do it like I did last time. So I spent some time tweaking the parameters and trying different settings until I found something that worked better. Eventually, the temperature started climbing again. And finally we're getting back to normal temperatures at 33 minutes, almost 34 minutes. The bad news was all that troubleshooting had cost me a lot of time. Before the flip, the steak was heating up nicely. Afterward, I was basically fighting to get back to where I had been. Still, the laser kept going. Minute after minute, degree after degree, and finally, just before 1 hour mark, 50 degrees Celsius. The target temperature, which means this steak has officially reached rare. Finally, we are at 50 degrees inside temperature at 57 minutes. Now I just have to sear the steak a little bit, give it a little crust, and that's it. And that's enough for me to call this test a success. The mirror-based laser engraver has done what the first machine couldn't. It actually cooked a steak. And here is our steak, cooked in rare. Yeah, so it did cook better than the last one. It has a brownish outside and a little reddish inside. Oh, my cat wants something to eat. Okay, clearly it is not edible. Now it's time for the final test. And for this one, I'm bringing out the most powerful laser in my workshop. A handheld laser welder. Compared to the engravers, this thing is in a completely different league. It's designed to melt metal, so I have a pretty good feeling it's not going to struggle with a piece of steak. The real question isn't whether it can cook the meat, the question is how fast can it do it. Because the laser is so powerful, I also have a feeling that the laser is gonna burn this metal rod on the thermometer, so I'm just gonna put something over it so it doesn't burn through. Now I won't be cooking at this distance. I'm gonna go further away until the laser is basically as wide as the steak. So that's roughly around 1 meter. Okay, let's go. Okay, so the temperature rises pretty quickly. A little closer. And we are already at 30 degrees in, what's that, 1 minute. Yep, this is working. The other side. So the question was, how fast can it do it? And the answer is very fast. The inside is already at 80 degrees. As you can see, it only took about 3 minutes to cook it. In fact, it didn't just cook the steak, it completely overshot the goal and turned it into a well-done steak. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed seeing perfectly good food being cooked in questionable ways, consider subscribing. That's it for this video, I'll see you in the next one.